If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
Our guest today on Horse Chats is Victoria Hardesty. Victoria's chatted to us before she talked to us about some of her books, Action and Adventure with Arabian Horses, and very excited to talk to her about that, especially she gave me the chance to read her books beforehand, which I thoroughly enjoyed. But today she's going to talk to us about not working clubs. You know, she was a newsletter editor for 2 Arabian horse clubs in her region, which is Southern California, for about 15 years. And one of her newsletters received the Communications Award of the Year from the Arabian Horse Association at their annual convention. So she's giving us some tips about writing horse newsletters, which I'm sure that, you know, we've got a wide variety of listeners within the horse community, and there's going to be people here who are writing and helping with newsletters for their club, and even just just general advertising and marketing for their business. They'll find these tips pretty invaluable. Now, Victoria, you there? How are you?
I'm wonderful, Glenys.
Mm-hmm. Okay, look, good to talk to you again. And, you know, this is a little different. It's different, I suppose, but similar, because you are a good writer and you write with character and with involvement with your characters and your stories and everything else. So, yeah, I would have enjoyed your newsletters, I'm sure, because I've certainly enjoyed your books, but we'll have a bit of a chat. But look, before we do that, I just need to talk to everyone about International Horse College, because we're sponsored by International Horse College. So horse welfare and safety are of utmost importance to International Horse College, which is why they're included in the values statement. Within the wide variety of horse courses, International Horse College only utilises methods that promote safe and humane methods of interaction between horses and humans, supported only by safe methods of educating riders, handlers and trainers about horse welfare. Have a look now at their online courses at internationalhorsecollege.com, registered training organisation 31352. Now, Victoria, the newsletter. So I know that first of all we start with a format. What sort of format? You know, we've got to have the logo and banner, but what sort of format should we be looking for? Where's the best place for the logo, the banner, and what sort of information do we need, contact information?
Normally what I did for the newsletters was I set up a template for the first page.
Okay.
And the first page always had the logo at the top in approximately 2 inches. Mm-hmm. From the top of a 8.5 by 11 size sheet of paper. And I put the logo up, and I put the name and the mailing information for the club. Mm-hmm. And then I listed the month and the year issue. And down the right-hand side, I left a column equally wide, because I listed all the officers and directors of the club and their contact information.
Okay.
I always listed myself last because I was the one I wanted them to contact.
Yes.
And then the balance of page 1 for every newsletter is kind of like if you think about a newspaper. The lead story is your big news. Mm-hmm. So what I did was took and put the president's message on page 1 every time.
Okay.
I got the president to sign a blank piece of paper.
Yep.
And I scanned that into my computer, so I had, you know, a signature that I could put
like
on
a
everyone.
digital signature. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I typed in the name and plopped it in when I needed to. And around the month and the year, I usually put something fun, just for ducks.
Okay.
Every month of every year, there's an event or something that usually comes to mind. April is Easter. March is St. Patrick's Day. February is Valentine's Day. Mm-hmm. And that sort of thing. And I use little clip art around the month and the year on that area, just to set the tone for the newsletter.
I'm just thinking about the letter from the president. What sort of things would the president's message be? You know, I know you said that you're going to have a digital signature on it, but the president's message, what would it be?
Most of the time, the president's address had to do with an event that just finished, the success or failure of that event, an event that is in planning stages, or something that's going on in the industry at large that might affect the members. So it would be the big news of the day. As an example, if we had just completed a horse show, the president could address that and say how successful it had been, how many participants were there, and whether or not the show was profitable. If we were planning the show, sometimes in the early stages of planning, the president would address that and say, the show committee is forming. If you'd like to participate, please call so-and-so, and, you know, get things off the dime on an event that's in the future. And if there's something, you know, the virus situation we have going on right now would have been front page news.
Yep.
How it affects the membership of the club, in that, you know, we probably have canceled meetings and we probably had canceled shows and things like that. But that's front page news, and it's usually the weightier stuff goes right out front. The rest of the newspaper, I divided into columns, and I always had columns for, well, I'll say this one thing, and I'll refer back to it many times. People like to see their name in print.
Yes, so absolutely. So you mean the normal members? The regular members, the people who are, say, in the club, yep, I'm a member, where's the newsletter? Yes, I think they're delighted. Yes.
Right. Seeing their name in print is number one for the membership. So what I did was I took a tally every time I used a member's name. I just put a tick so I knew how many members' names I'd used in this particular issue. So I could keep track of it, so I could try to at least improve on it if I could.
Okay.
But with that in mind, I structured the rest of the newsletter into regular columns that always appeared in about the same place. One of the membership column. That's a place where the membership chairman would tell you about the new members coming in. Those are very important to name because you want to welcome those people. And then renewing memberships, when membership renewals are due, things like that, and what your membership covers. All of that membership information is very important to get out there.
I suppose too, if you've got the columns in the one spot, you know, and people getting a regular newsletter, it's like having a standard website format. You know, you want one thing in particular, and if it's in the same place each month, then you know exactly where to go to. You want to know what the events are coming up, you go exactly there. You want to know if you've got, you know, particular breed or particular information you need, you've got to go straight there for that. I suppose that's just consistency, isn't it? Makes it easier reading. Yep.
Well, you know, people get used to certain things being in certain places.
Yes.
And it's easier for them to find them. And so if you use some consistency in the structure of your newsletter, you're always going to have people that appreciate it. You know, with Arabian horses do a lot of different things, and people get involved in groups of people that do those things, like the showing world. That's the people that get the horses out to show and halter, or they show in performance. And then you have the endurance people, and those are the people that ride the 25, 50, 75, 100-mile rides. And that's a whole different discipline, really.
Yeah.
Then you have racing people who actually breed racing Arabians and their meets. You know, we talk about that. And some people just like to bip along on the trail in groups.
Yep.
And that's kind of fun, too. So they'll get together in a group of 15 to 20 people and take a trail ride in different areas. And they will send in pictures of who was on the trail and what they saw when they were out. that's all fun stuff to get in there.
Just going back to the members, I know that you said that you kept a list. Did you keep a list of the individual members so you can say, oh, I haven't put them in the newsletter for a little while. What are they doing that I can, have a reason to put them in so that each of the members ends up getting a mention?
I tried doing that, and we had some members that honestly were not very active.
Okay.
And didn't crave that kind of attention. So I dropped it down to where I was just keeping a count on the number of names I included in the newsletter.
I suppose, and then rewarding the more active members.
And sometimes as the newsletter editor, I would call people and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing with your horse these days?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's fun things you can put in there, like the foaling status.
Yep.
Horses have babies, and they take 354 days or whatever it is, or 307, I don't know. It's 11 months and 5 days on an average.
Yep. Yes, and I like the way you say average because there's always, mares going over or foals being born early. Yep.
Oh, yeah, you always have that. But foaling is always fun during the times of year. And I think you probably have a different
it's the opposite,
pattern with yours than we do, because our winters and summers are opposite.
For sure.
I'm looking at snow tonight.
Oh, wow. Yep.
And you're probably looking at heat tomorrow.
Yes, yes, I am. Yes, yep.
So I would imagine you breed in different times of the year than we do. So,
well, it's spring,
anyway, but
it's sort of coming in.
The full news is always hysterically fun to do. The youth activities group, because with the horse groups, there's always a kids club.
Okay.
And the kids get together, and you have a youth advisor, and they get together and do barbecues, or they learn how to braid tails, or they do all kind of fun things. Sometimes they do little bake sales and stuff to raise money for events they want to attend as a group. And so you always try to do that, cover that. And both in that section and the one I called bragging rights, you want to picture the kids with their horses.
Okay, and now you talked about photos before. What do you do with photos? Do you get the digital copies, or I suppose you didn't have digital copies then, but I'm thinking of, someone that's doing a newsletter now. How do people generally send in photos, or do you see them on Facebook, or what's a good tip, do you think, for people that are doing a newsletter now to get photos?
I did a lot of mine by Facebooking or calling people.
Okay.
Saying, hey, I know your kid was at the show.
Yeah.
How did he or she do, and do you have a picture?
Good.
And sometimes people would just send them to me because, when the blue ribbons go out, mommies and daddies are very proud.
Yeah.
So they want everybody to know, and there's nothing even better than having mom's name in the newsletter is great, but mom's daughter's picture and name in the paper is even better.
Yes, for sure.
So I always worked on that.
Yep.
And throughout the month, I would see things on Facebook, or I'd see little things in magazines or whatever that were of interest to the community at large, and I would copy those and I would stick them in a folder.
Okay.
And I kept that folder until I was ready to construct the newsletter. And I pulled it out, and all those little love notes that I wrote myself ended up filling out the pages, which was wonderful.
Yep.
Originally, I was doing an 8-page newsletter. So it was 4 8.5 by 11 size sheets of paper, front and back.
Yep.
And I had to print it, then I had to copy it, then I had to collate it, then staple it, then fold it, then label it, then stamp it, then mail it.
Okay.
I was handling those things hundreds of times.
Yep.
And we were actually costing the club every month for the cost of that. I didn't get paid for my time. Cost to do that.
Yep. yeah. But it still would have kept the club a bit more active to do
Yeah.
those newsletters, yeah.
Well, and clubs, sometimes they're spread out over quite a wide geography.
Yes.
And it's hard to get together to put a party together that will sit and do all that. I ended up doing it myself.
Yeah, okay.
And I didn't mind, but at the same time, when I finally convinced them to go digital, I could prepare the newsletter and distribute it the same day.
Yeah.
And I could distribute it in full color.
Yes.
Which makes those pictures of your neighbor's kid even prettier, you know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah.
And the entire newsletter was much more attractive. So, and then at the same time, what we did was we added space in the newsletter for advertisement. So we would sell ads. They were really inexpensive, but you could buy an ad for a business card size ad for $25 a year.
Okay. Yep. Makes it good for the advertisers because you're going to get members of the club that might have a business and they're interested in advertising to the other members, but you're also bringing in outside members or outside people into the club and getting them involved and thinking about the club, but with the ability to contribute some money.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what it did when we changed it to the digital format and sold a little bit of ad space,
yes,
it turned the newsletter from a expense item on the balance sheet to an income item on the balance sheet.
Yep.
So it no longer cost us. So it was profitable to do.
Yep.
And then, other things that I did, for a horse column or for a horse newsletter, I printed a horse cookie recipe every single month.
Oh, that would be good. What sort of recipes?
Oh, these are little recipes that usually involve something like carrots, apples, and grain.
Yep.
Mixed with molasses and baked in the oven, and but there's a million little recipes that you can put together. And some of them you crush peppermints because there's horses out there that love peppermint. And there's very few I've ever met that don't like apples.
Yep.
And I've never met one yet that doesn't like carrot. So you can shave those down and stick those in a horse cookie thing. And I had a little horse character that I used, a little clip art piece, and I stuck him by the cookie recipe every time. So it was always in the same spot and always with my little fun horse character.
Looking like he's licking his lips because of the cookies.
Of course. Yeah. And one other major thing that has to go in your newsletter is a schedule of events. Or a calendar.
Yes.
And you can, depending upon the number of events in a 3-month period of time, you can extend it out to 3 or 4 months, or you can shorten it to 2, to fill the space and not overwhelm people. But you can list that, and you should enlist everything from board of directors meetings to open club meetings to horse shows and endurance races and everything else that people do with their horses.
Okay. I suppose if you've got the same calendar, you'd see if there was any date clashes or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're going back and forth through the newsletter, you check your youth activities and make sure they're in your calendar. And you can put a bleep in the membership from the membership column that we have 5 members that need to renew this month. You don't have to name them again, but just say we need to renew.
Yep.
And so it's like an extra thing. And one of the other things that I learned to do in these newsletters was to leave a little white space.
Okay.
If it's totally covered with text, it looks boring, and it actually is boring. So I left space between, and sometimes I would just leave a band of space, but that's a perfect place to put a quote. Like, a quote like, the outside of a horse is good for the inside of a man.
Yep.
That was one from Winston Churchill. It doesn't take up a lot of space, so you can leave white above it, white below it, and make it narrow and fit it in. And you can also use clip art, which is fun to use, in the holiday theme throughout your newsletter.
I can imagine how artistic it was. You've got your clip art, you've got, your little cartoon horses in the cookie sections, and I think it would be quite an interesting newsletter, just with with everything you're putting into it. You put a bit of effort into it, and it's should be good.
Right. I could bust out a whole 8-page newsletter in about 6 or 7 hours.
Wow.
And have it done.
Wow. Yeah.
But, it's all partly organization.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, having your layout pretty well established so you know where your membership column is going to be and where your, your calendar or schedule of events is going to be. If it's always in the same place, it makes it so much easier. All you have to do is pull up last month and whip out the stuff that had already happened and add in the stuff that you have to add on.
Yep.
For some of that. So it's not like you have to redo everything.
What about other things in the area? I'm thinking about things like other clubs or other information, school, or, just within your general calendar. Do they go in so that...
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, very much so. With the Arabian horse groups, they busted up the United States and Canada, I think, into 19 different regions. And, I can drive within an 8-hour period.
Mm-hmm.
I can, hauling a horse, I can drive to 4 different regions.
Yep, okay.
I own plus 3. And so I always looked at the Arabian Horse Association, the main club, their general calendar, because I could pull the other 3 regions' activities and include them with mine.
Yeah.
Because it made sense, people might want to go to Arizona, which is, a 4 or 5 hour drive, or they might want to go to Northern California, which is 6 or 7 hour drive, or they might want to go to San Diego.
Okay.
Which is, 2 or 3 hour drive. So I always included driving space around, and I included national events.
Okay.
They always have a United States National Championship.
Mm-hmm.
They always had a United States Youth National Championship. There was the Canadian Nationals and the Sport Horse Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
And all of those events were included on my calendar.
And then just as if you're doing that newsletter and you can sort of put it together in 8 or 9 hours, do you then get someone else to go over it, make sure everything's spelt correctly and just do a general check? Do you sleep on it and then go back and, check it all in the morning? How does that work? What do you normally do there?
Well, I use a pretty good program.
Okay.
Called Grammarly.
Mm-hmm.
And it catches my punctuation errors, my tense errors, where you have the wrong tense together. It pops out, a million little mistakes that people make all the time. It won't correct misspellings of people's names, so that's really on you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be careful about that, because I think the worst thing you can do is put somebody's name in it and misspell it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Great to have their name in there, but make sure that it's spelt right. Yeah.
That's right. So you double check.
Yeah.
Check those. And for the rest of it, the grammar checker that comes with the computer is pretty good, but I use the premium version of Grammarly because it does a lot of other stuff. And, I would use it because I'm a writer. Mm-hmm. And, I write books, and now I'm writing a whole series of short stories. Yep. In fact, my last one was somebody in Australia, not far from you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Who was that?
She's Queensland, Australia. I think her name is Judy Gordon.
Okay. Maybe we can get you back on very soon and give us an update on the short stories. And when does your next book come out, Victoria?
With this coronavirus problem that we're having, I have been unable to work too much. Mm-hmm. I have family members that are stuck in my house now.
Oh, no.
That
okay.
I can't get rid of.
Okay, so they're in lockdown with you?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people are saying, oh, no, this is really good because I can't go out and do anything, but it's a totally different thing if you can't go inside and do anything because you've got other people in lockdown with you. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that kind of changes things a bit.
Sure.
I had hoped, I had wanted to get it done by April, but I'm about 14 or 15,000 words in. And I got about 86,000 words to go, to finish.
Yeah.
That's my target.
Yeah, for sure.
So it'll take me a little, but I banged out 98,000 words in 1 month one time, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, looking forward to that one.
Yeah, if I have peace and quiet, I'm going to bang it out.
Okay. No, sounds good. All right, look, I think this information you've given us today is, I think, very good. I think very good for someone that's in a club that does newsletters. So I'm actually thinking maybe there could be a couple of changes to our newsletter, and we use that at Horse Chats and International Horse College. And if you need to go and subscribe to that, you can, anything you just let us know at Horse Chats if you want to subscribe to that and give us your details, or just go to the website horsechats.com or internationalhorsecollege.com and leave your details on any of the inquiry buttons or anything. Just say you want to be on the newsletter, and you might notice some of the different changes now that we might do some changes based on what you've told us today. So I think that's good, and hopefully some other listeners will listen to that as well. And I think if you want to contact Victoria, her details will be on horsechats.com. I think just go and search for Victoria or search for Hardesty. Or Victoria, what's the best way to contact you?
My email address is probably the best way, and I also they can contact me on Facebook. That's been a really good way to get a hold of me.
Okay, perfect.
I have 5,000 members or friends.
Yep.
But they can always send me a message, and I pay attention to messages.
Okay. And do you have a Facebook page for your books, Victoria?
Yes, I do.
So you can go over.
The page for the books is Wonder Horse Books.
Perfect. All right, so if you need to contact Victoria, you've got the details. If you'd like to go on that mailing list, you've got the details. And Victoria, thanks again for chatting to us, and look forward to chatting with you some more, and looking forward to your next book.
Well, I'm looking forward to chatting with you too.
Okay, then.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye now.
If you've enjoyed this chat, then please comment, rate and subscribe. If you'd like any changes or recommendations for guests, then please contact us through horsechats.com. And while you're online, have a look at the government-accredited courses at internationalhorsecollege.com. Registered Training Organisation 31352.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.